Hi everybody, welcome to my reading corner, and I'm going to talk about, for this video, I'm going to talk about my favorite villains. Now, when I think actually I know I've talked about this before, how when I joined BookTube, one of the things that I've noticed about myself is I remember movies and shows better than books. And so I have been recently obsessed with making sure that I read more than watching what's on TV or, what's in a movie, so that I can remember books, because I do think books do hold a little bit more value than movies and shows. Or, well, no, not more. I think actually no, it's about this. I feel like it's the same. It's just like the difference between what's on screen is it's someone else's imagination, and it makes it easier. And I do firmly believe that sometimes with certain books it's just easier to watch the small screen version, like the small screen or on-screen version, rather than going to take the time and trying to understand the book. Because believe it or not, there are some books that people don't always understand, even if to you they're the simplest, easiest story to understand. And it also does bother me when people are like, I don't get how you can spend more time watching a TV show or movie than reading a book. I mean, it's fine if in your life you have, you don't watch TV or watch movies that often and you just rather read a book. That's great. But don't judge people who don't do it that way, who watch TV and movies as much as they read books. Or maybe they have, like myself, have a habit of doing it more than reading books. It makes me feel bad. That, I feel like everyone's judging me and looking at me because I don't read, that I'm lazy and spend more time watching like a TV show or a movie over reading a book. But I am trying to change that, because I know there is a lot of value in reading books. I mean, I'm a reader. But anyway, I brought that up because I've been kind of obsessing over remembering, like, when lists like this, where you talk about your top favorite villains, I am determined, or when I do, like, top 5 videos, because I'm on the top 5, as you know, I'm in the top 5 Wednesday group, and I always feel bad, because my first thought is a movie or a TV character. And then there's also the fact that, I might remember the on-screen version better than the book version. Like with Song of Ice and Fire series, I might remember the on-screen versions of those characters better than what's in the book, because it's just easier for me to remember what's on screen. Because with a book, it requires more time and patience, unless it's like young adult books, it's a little different, because it goes by faster, and I think they keep in mind that most of their readers are teenagers. And sometimes their attention spans, they can't always read a book that's really thick, like over 500 pages. I mean, maybe they can't, maybe they can, but I think that's what the publishers are authors and publishers are thinking when they're publishing young adult books, that this is the teen audience, so they might not be able to read a book like this one, for instance, because, look how big that book is. It's going to take a lot more time and patience. So, but with this list, I try to stick to remembering the book villains. I'm definitely, with the help of BookTube and Goodreads, I'm definitely remembering books a little bit better, but there are definitely books that I probably still need to reread more than once to actually make it stick, because I feel like after a certain time, you do forget things about books. And that's why it's so important for me to discuss them. But it's hard to lead a discussion when people aren't active, and then I can't always think of a good question or a good comment to post. Like, it's easier with a TV show, like I said, or with a movie. So and then people don't always respond, because my Facebook groups are small. And I've been told in the past that with smaller groups, it's hard to get people to be as active. Because with bigger groups, you have more chance of finding a bunch of people that are going to be active in your group. Okay, with enough of that rambling, let's get to the list. My top favorite villains. Okay, I'm going to go from least favorite to favorite, and starting with number 10, and that is, and when I say least favorite, I mean that they're not my favorite. I don't mean that they're not my favorite anymore. It's just that they're not number 1 anymore on my list. And that is Umbridge from Harry Potter, the one villain that I think most people would put Umbridge on their list. And, you know, I know, like, Voldemort is scary for a kid. I do believe that. But as an adult reading it, because I think a lot of us that grew up with Harry Potter do like to go back and reread the books. And looking back as an adult, you realize that Voldemort is, yes, he's scary, he's intimidating, he has all this power, he has a really ugly face. And he wants to live forever, so that's pretty scary. And he's willing to kill, and he has killed people just to rip his soul apart so he can become immortal. So yeah, he is scary and intimidating, but, like, my favorite villains are usually ones that are very human. And I think he's lost a lot of humanity. I mean, yes, there are some villains that I absolutely love, like It from the title from the book It is pretty scary, and he's a pretty awesome villain but he's not human. He's a monster. He's the Thing. He's your worst fears. He's like a shapeshifter / demon, or I don't know. I don't know if they actually. I think there is an explanation, but I'm one of those people who is still kind of new to the Stephen King universe. I feel like, so there's so much stuff that is explained, and I don't remember it all. But anyway, but that's why I like Umbridge, because she's so human. And I feel like you could find someone like Umbridge in the real world. Someone who's a bureaucrat and tyrannical and radical and crazy, will do whatever it takes. And in their twisted brains, they think they are right. They believe that they are right, and they will go whatever lengths to prove themselves right. Even if they won't question. There's no doubt in their mind. The point of she believes in fierce punishment. I mean, makes Harry, like, when Harry tries to tell her that no, it's all what the government says is BS, that Voldemort is alive, and Fudge doesn't want to believe it, and that, he's trying to, and she decides to put him to detention because he feels like he's corrupting her perfect, pristine, procedural world, and puts him in detention. And how she makes him do lines, which at first seems just kind of annoying and a nuisance, and Harry's probably thinking, whatever, rolls his eyes and stuff. He's just frustrated that she, like everybody else, thinks he's crazy and doesn't believe him. But then you find out that the pen she gave him to use, when he writes, it draws his own blood. It takes his blood, it magically somehow takes his blood and writes, "I must not tell lies," in his own blood. And that's just been creepy. And I took a lot of pleasure in what happens to her by the end of the 5th book. But she does come back, unfortunately. They didn't kill her later in the series, but oh my god, she's such a sadistic bitch. And you just hate her. And like I said, the scary thing is, I believe people like her do exist, or could potentially exist. The only difference is there's magic in this world. And we're talking about an all-powerful magical wizard. So, but without that stuff, you could really see people like that in this world that are trying to control things. And also, and then the fact that she tries to make herself feminine and soft and kind, she's all sweet, which is really creepy. And with all the cats and all the pink, all the daggone pink, says the girl who's wearing pink. But, of course, I'm wearing pink and gray in my defense. But she's so creepy, and with her sweetness and her constant, like, stuff, and it's like when she's trying to talk. And I love when McGonagall put that bitch in her place. I mean, I even felt sorry for Professor Trelawney when she tried to get rid of her, because, I mean, everyone kind of rolls their eyes at Trelawney, in her little predictions, and it gets annoying that she's constantly predicting that Harry's gonna die and all these ill omens and stuff, and she's only made a few predictions, like, I think 2, officially, she's only made 2 since we've known her character that were true. The original prediction about Harry, the prophecy about Harry in Voldemort, and then she made the predictions, in the 3rd book, when we first meet her, she makes the prediction that Voldemort's most loyal servant is going to return to him. And she was right. So, but she's also she's incredibly annoying. But in that moment, when Umbridge is, like, pointing at how flawed how bad she is and everything, how she's a horrible, whatever, that a horrible teacher, that a horrible professor, you feel bad for her. And I did, like, it was funny, that one scene when she was, like, Umbridge was observing Snape, and Harry and Ron were excited, thinking, oh, she'll take down Snape, and everything is actually, there is a little, if I remember, there was some tension and stuff, but mostly Snape was all good and stuff. It's like, damn it, of course. He's, like, the perfect teacher. Okay, but this woman is, you just wanted the Centaurs to crush her to death. But like I said, she does come back. I think she is brought back in the later in the series. And like I said, that voice is so annoying. It's like nails on a chalkboard. It's so grating. And now, of course, nothing against the actress who plays her in the movie. Of course, the actress who played her in the movie was great. She did a good job at portraying that incredibly annoying person. But it's funny, though, the actress who plays her, I know her, she plays in Shakespeare in Love as Shakespeare's love interest's nurse, who, in a way, she's kind of the inspiration for Juliet, in a way, or at least she's kind of represents Juliet in the story. It's like their love story is parallel to the story in the play he wrote, Romeo and Juliet. But anyway, so that's number 10. Okay, number 9 is another sadistic female character, and that is Queen Lavanna from the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. Lavanna is crazy. She's nuts. First of all, in the story, she and all the people that live on the moon a lot of them have this power that they can manipulate bioelectricity. They can make you see what they want you to see. They can manipulate your emotions. They can make you do all these things like stab yourself, cut yourself. They can force you to bow to them. They can, they can make you jump off a cliff. They can do whatever they want to you. They can make, it's really, and they can make you see what, to them, you can look incredibly beautiful, and they won't see behind your false facade, and although mirrors speak the truth. But, and so do cameras, apparently. So it's just, the thing about Lavanna is because she can do that, but not only that, but she doesn't know what real love is. You feel so sorry for her. You almost pity her, in a way. Because she doesn't understand that what she feels like. When you learn her backstory in Ferris, you realize she doesn't know what love is. She never understood real love. She thinks real love is, like, her being able to, like, she thinks what she had with that one guy, whose name I don't remember, was, like, Winter's father, was real love. It wasn't real love. She was manipulating him, controlling him. And he never would love her. And you kind of feel bad for her. Of course, she kind of ruins that. When she sets fire to her niece's room, tries to kill her, and then manipulates the guy and makes him believe makes him stay loyal and love her when he doesn't. He never could. It's very creepy, and she is just plain psychotic. It kind of reminds me of Regina from Once Upon a Time, because they're the same character. But the only difference is Regina does not. She has magical powers, but she does not have the power, that kind of power. I mean, she could use magic on someone and make them brainwash them or something. but they kind of are the same thing where I feel like they don't understand what real love is. I mean, I think the difference though is that Regina did come close. She did have love for a little while until her stupid mom killed him, ripped out his heart, and killed the guy. And then she does get it again with Robin from Robin Hood. Yes, they ruined the Maid Marian Robin Hood relationship. They killed off the character of Maid Marian, and they have him and Regina together. And unfortunately, to me, that felt such like a rushed storyline. I was disappointed with the Outlaw Queen storyline. But yeah, Queen Lavanna is just plain scary, and you don't see her real face. And and that's what she holds, and she holds her stepdaughter hostage, which is what happens in the original fairy tale. And she's so delusional and controlling and everything, and she will do whatever, and she plans to assassinate Kai when they're married, after they get married, so she can be empress and rule New Beijing, be one of the powerhouses on Earth. She's so creepy and so evil and so sadistic. Like, it takes away there might be still a little slither of pity, but that's about it. Just pity. But other than that, she's just so evil. But at the same time, I love her villainy. But in case you don't remember, this is me talking about the villains that I love, that I think are really amazing, written really well. Point of view are terrified of them. Okay, so next is number 8, and this is one of the only serial killer type villain that I have. Or kind of like a serial killer. Well, I guess, yeah, they end up being considered a serial killer. This is based on a Stephen King book. This is a character from a Stephen King book, The Dark Half. And this is, normally I'm not a thriller person, but it was one of these things where, I liked the premise. It sounded really interesting. It's basically about this writer who, he was one of those literary writers that wasn't doing very well commercially, so he created this pseudonym of himself, of a character who wrote more commercialized works that were very brutal and scary, and was about a serial killer who would, I think it was a serial killer, but then eventually I think he doesn't eventually a reporter realizes that this is not a separate author. This is actually a pseudonym. This author, George Stark, Okay, rewind. Okay, so our protagonist is Tad. I don't remember, Tad Beaumont. And like I said, he writes literary fiction, but then his fiction is not really selling, not doing well for him and his family. So he decides to go more commercial, and he writes these thrillers under the name of George Stark. But then he gets outed by this reporter. But before this reporter can officially tell the world that Tad Beaumont is George Stark goes to his contacts and decides to out it himself. And he has decided that with this whole experience, and how this George Stark character is kind of messing with his relationship with his wife and his kids, that he decides he's going to kill off George, he's going to get rid of the George Stark identity and kill off his character. But then, for some weird reason, coincidentally, some of the people that were involved with Tad choosing to do this, these people end up getting killed. And the cops find Tad's fingerprints on the body. But Tad has an alibi, and he was nowhere near the location of this murder. So it's all about them figuring it all out, and slowly you begin to realize that George Stark might not be a fictional character anymore. He might actually, a fictional identity, he might actually be real and has somehow, literally come to life. And no, this is not a dissociative identity disorder / multiple personality, where Tad has another personality, because Tad really isn't the one doing these things. Spoiler alert. I'm so bad at this. I don't know if it's okay to give these away or not. But I'll let you guys know that there will be spoilers in the little description box below. But, so I'm talking about Tad's alter ego, George Stark, is on this list as a villain. The guy, first, I mean, he's like Hannibal Lecter, but when he's like, Ted Bundy means Hannibal Lecter. Or, well, no, maybe that's not the best comparison. I don't know. But it's you gotta have at least one serial killer on this list if you read thrillers. And normally I don't, but like I said, I may accept him because it was Stephen King. And I like the idea of a writer having an alter ego that becomes real. Not just multiple personality kind of thing, but like literally George Stark becomes a real person, his own person, a physical individual. Not just like Tad playing him. I think that is just I love that concept. And of course, you count on Stephen King to do that. So, and then Stephen King, of course, is an amazing writer. So, it's not my favorite Stephen King book, but it's up there as a book that I really enjoyed last year. But this guy, George Stark, knows Tad Beaumont in and out. He knows his deepest, darkest secrets and his desires, his like inner demons. Like that's why it's called the Dark Half. And it's like this guy is scary, and and his motivation is just to live, to not die. He wants to live like any other human would. He is fighting for his life because Tad has decided to kill him off, get rid of him. So you can't entirely blame the guy. I mean, that's not the best way to go about it, but still, I mean, you can't blame him for being like, I don't want to die. I have a right to exist. You know, I'm a human being, even though I'm a sadistic human being and kind of evil, but I still have a right to live. I'm still a breathing human being, and he does not like. So I think any human being, even if you are evil, would fight to survive. Or at least make sure people remember you. Like some of the Batman villains. But, yeah, and like I said, he knows Tad, and that's what makes him even more scarier. So his motivation is very human, and the fact that he knows and has a very strong connection with his creator, with Tad, is absolutely terrifying. And he will kill people. He's killing people, even people that aren't even like that just happen to be slightly involved in it. That because they were the ones who encouraged Tad to kill him off, he's like, well, then I'm going to make you pay the price. I'm going to kill you because you encouraged my buddy Tad over there to kill me. That's like, I don't think that's fair. So you deserve to die. So it's just, he's very scary. He's a very scary villain. He's a very scary human being. Okay, so number 7 is a classic of the 2000s, and that is President Snow from The Hunger Games by, I forgot her name. I don't remember her name. Suzanne Collins. He's one of those villains that's creepily, just plain creepy. And very charming. Like, creepily charming. And some of those are my favorite villains, of course. The ones that are really charming. And that's the thing about, like, a lot of the real-life serial killers, that's how they work, because they're very charming and very nice and friendly to people before people learned that they were killers. That they were killing people. And that's the thing about President Snow, is that he's so charming and seems so friendly on the surface until you realize that he's not. And he's one of those villains that tells the truth. Like, I think you see this all the time in movies and TV shows, where you have those villains that point out the thing you hate, the truth, the ugly truth, the one that you don't want to hear. Like, they are incredibly honest. I mean, and he's the one who makes the big reveal to Katniss at the end of the book. And it's kind of scary how clever he is and how manipulative he is. And he's just a bastard. A clean-cut bastard, but a bastard. A charming clean-cut bastard. And it's always interesting when people use villains and associate certain villains with the color white. Because you think of white as purity, but then, but then I think a lot of people, writers will have, like, put it to opposite effect. Like, on the show Supernatural, in season 5, when the character of Dean sees his brother get taken over by Lucifer, the possibility of that happening, what will happen if Lucifer becomes the vessel, Sam becomes the vessel of Lucifer. Like, Lucifer actually, he lets Lucifer in, and he's wearing a pristine white suit. So I think, like, writers do that quite a bit, where they have white associated with a bad guy. And there's the fact that I think, like, President Snow, I want to say he wears white gloves, which I did learn when on a video we're talking about Disney and how gloves signify you're trying to hide something. So a lot of villains wear gloves to hide that there's blood on their hands, metaphorically speaking. But and he also has a greenhouse full of white roses, and he's an old guy, so he's white hair. So it's very, he's one of those very creepy, charming villains. He, like, reminds me of a more interesting version of one of the bad guys on the Nickelodeon show Kim Possible. I can't remember the character's name, but although those villains got on my nerves sometimes. I want to punch him in the face. But, I mean, I hate when like, of course this is a kid's show, it's a silly cartoon, but I just hate the idea of villains seeming cartoonish. But I guess we were talking, that was a kid's show, so. But he's just creepy. And, like, evil, just a bastard, and you just hate him so much. I mean, he's the reason that all these districts exist. It's like, I mean, he's a leader of a communist country. Half country. I think it's only half the United States. And it's just so, I don't know what else to say about that. He's a bastard. Okay, next one is another one that's kind of around the my Harry Potter time, and that is Jonathan Morgenstern from The Mortal Instruments. Now, as most people know, there's the whole controversy, or like, I don't know if you can consider it a controversy, the whole idea of how she wrote the original first 3 books, and that was going to be the end of it. But then after book 3, she decided, I'm going to write more books. I'm going to write 3 more books. And the way book 3 ended, it was an ending, but it didn't leave open for a 4th book in a new part of the series. Because you were introduced to Jonathan Morgenstern under the guise of Sebastian Verloc. And then you find out he's Jonathan Morgenstern, Clary, our protagonist Clary's brother. Her long-lost, sick brother. And he is like, he's, again, another just plain bastard. And you know what's, like, he is, like, obsessed with having this relationship. And it's funny, he does that one thing that drives me crazy with villains, when like, you find out you have the one parent who is abusive and controlling and has turned them into the villain they are, but then you have the other parent, the good, kind one, who has, like, left them, they had to leave them behind, or they thought they were dead, but because it looks like they abandoned them, so it's like, our villain is thinking, you left me, you abandoned me, I hate you, how dare you, you're not worth it, I'm gonna kill you now, kind of attitude. Even though they're the one who loves them, and cares about them, and has hoped that they were not dead, and has loved them, meaning, in this case, Clary's mom. She holds stuff that belonged to Jonathan, and she loves him and cares about him more than anything. But then, to Jonathan, it looks like she just essentially abandoned him. Yet, and he loves and strives and obsessed with pleasing his father, Valentine, who treats him like crap and is abusive and controlling. It's like you see that all the time, and especially younger villains. But but he is an interesting villain. He wants to have this relationship with Clary. He's devoted to her. He wants to prove himself. He even kidnaps Jace to lure Clary. It actually kind of reminds me of what's going on in Gotham right now with a certain character trying to prove himself. Even though he's a psycho and what he's doing is sadistic and that's not normal. You're not proving anything, or you're just proving that you're evil. But yeah, he's so twisted, and he's even worse than Valentine, I think. Yes, Valentine is pretty bad, but it's kind of like Voldemort versus Umbridge kind of situation, where yeah, they're like Voldemort. Valentine's pretty evil and sadistic, intimidating, and has done a lot of horrible, disgusting things, and he's very controlling and manipulative and scary looking. But at the same time, but then you have the other villain who is more human and will do whatever is necessary to show their love and their devotion to someone, even if it means hurting people that don't deserve to be hurt, because in their mind they are in the right. And it's just absolutely terrifying. And Sebastian is just like a sick bastard who just wants to be loved and is like some of the like Lavana, for instance. He doesn't know what love is. He doesn't know how to express love. And it's going, and the show went in kind of a different direction. The show's on its last season. I don't know if it's showing right now. I don't know if it's ended yet or not. But I know it's on its last season. But they did go kind of a different direction, but I've stopped watching it. So I know there's something to do with Lilith, and he sees Lilith as a mother or something. But yes, Jonathan Morgenstern is just, and then he hits on Clary. He tries to kiss her, thinking, at the time she thinks of him, she thinks he's Sebastian. I don't know if I can't say that name. But, she realizes that she actually feels the way she thinks she should feel about Jace, because she thinks Jace is her brother, Jonathan. But then she was never disgusted. She never by her attraction to Jace, even though she's been told that he's her brother by Valentine. She still loves Jace very much, and not just as a sisterly, brotherly kind of love, but a romantic kind of love. But then when she meets Sebastian, she thinks, oh, this guy's cute, I'm gonna get over Jace and everything and try to pursue this, this guy has a lot of potential, and he, believes in me and wants to help me. And then, when he tries to kiss her, she's all grossed out and disturbed by it. So so unconsciously, she has realized that she shouldn't be attracted to this guy for some reason. And I think, like I said, unconsciously, I think she realizes that this is her brother, this is someone, her blood, someone she shouldn't be attracted to. So it's just the fact that he tried to kiss her. But then I think, I know a lot of people, they don't like the incest and everything, but to me it's yeah, it's disgusting, but if these are villainous people doing it, then they're villains, of course, what do you expect? But I know that there's some people that don't like certain lines being crossed and don't want certain things in their books. And I can understand that. But anyway, but Jonathan is such, a horrible, evil person. And I don't remember much because I did donate my books, so I can't reread books to remind myself, but either way, the dude is sick and scary. Next is one that I remember a lot better, and that is Cersei Lannister from Song of Ice and Fire series, or as show people call it, Game of Thrones. Cersei is one of those. First off, this world, the world of Westeros, is kind of inspired by a medieval setting, so it does have those sexist kind of views of women and how women aren't meant to be in power and that they're just supposed to find a husband, make the babies, and take care of the kids. and, be the nurturer and be the person who comforts the people and, is all that good stuff. And Cersei hates that. She feels like she has been treated like a brute mayor being sold off constantly in marriages, and she hates it. And she's jealous of her brothers, although they have their own criticisms by their father. And she wants her father's love and devotion, but he will not support her. He does not. He just sees her as his daughter, as someone to be obedient to him. And you feel so sorry for her, but to the point where she does whatever. But some of the things that she does are so horrible, like having people killed and having people killed constantly, and she has an incestuous relationship with her brother Jaime, and she's such a heartless woman. Not completely heartless, because she does have a little bit of a heart because of her kids. She loves and is completely devoted, spoils her children rotten, but the problem, of course, is that her kids are the offspring of her and Jaime's incestuous relationship. So Martin shows them as all kind of messed up in a way. Tommen, the middle one, is very weak and soft and easily manipulated. And then you have Marcella, the girl. Actually, I think Marcella might be the younger one, the middle one. She's the sweet, naive girl. And then Joffrey is the big example of how incest can mess up a kid. Because this kid, he is the sadistic evil little bastard. Which I will get to him in a minute. He literally is the next one on this list. But Cersei will do whatever is necessary to the point of she doesn't care who she steps on, who she hurts. Because she is determined to prove that a woman is capable and to be in power. And it just pisses her off that people like her father push her down because she's a woman. And she doesn't, like I said, she doesn't care who she steps on. She is just so crazy and obsessed and power hungry. And to the point of she does not like anyone getting between her or her kids, and does not like anyone getting between her and Jaime either. And if you bite back and cross her path and mess with her, then she'll fight back. She is just so evil, such a bitch, but you kind of feel sorry for her. I mean, with all these villains, I think, with the exception of Umbridge. Well, I guess with Umbridge too, because she is devoted to Fudge and does not see her being in the wrong, and she's a bit of an idiot, but she's so hateful. So, with her, it's kind of, with her, it's debatable. But with most of these people, you do feel a slither of understanding. If you don't feel sympathy, you at least feel an understanding of why they are the way they are, why are they so evil, why they choose the things that they do. And you just hate her. But at the same time, you love her, and you feel sorry for her, and you are entertained by her, and you almost don't want her to die. You almost. But when she does die, hopefully it'll be a really cool death, and not just swept under the rug kind of death. Which George R. R. Martin and the guys that write the show are very good with deaths. When killing off characters, if you're gonna die on the show, you at least gotta have a cool death. Okay, so next is her son Joffrey Lannister, or Baratheon technically, but you may as well just say Joffrey Lannister. The little sadistic little brat. And I didn't bat an eyelash. Oh my god, I should have said Ramsay Bolton. He's another one on this list. There are so many characters on Game of Thrones that are just so evil that you want him to die. But I guess I can't really say Ramsay because I haven't gotten to Ramsay in the book. Because I did have to start over. I got to book 3 the first time I read these books. But then I stopped halfway through book 3 to take a little bit of a break. Because, the book is pretty big. It has a lot in it. It's very intense and sometimes get a little tedious. And then it had been so long that I decided, you know what, I just need to go back and start from the beginning. So I started rereading the series, and I'm in the middle of book 2. But well, not exactly in the middle anymore. Like still kind of in the beginning. I haven't reached the middle point. But Joffrey is a sadistic little brat. I mean, he like Sansa, like he was all like gonna, you know, I'm trying to think like he promised when it was revealed that Ned Stark was supposedly a traitor because he was gonna out Cersei. He promised Sansa he would grant her father mercy and let him go to take the Black, the Night's Watch. And he ends up being like, you know what? I don't think so. I don't care what you want. I'm gonna have him chop off his head. Off with their heads kind of mentality. Even his mom didn't know about that. And then, like, he pitches fits all the time if he doesn't get his way. And I think Tyrion is the only one who knows how to be like, because his mom loves him and is devoted to him and wants to spoil him. But Tyrion does not, and neither does Tywin, their father, take his BS, his bratty temper tantrums. I mean, he's like, that's what makes him scary, is that he's just a little brat. He's this little kid who's like, you know, if he doesn't get his way, he's like, you know? And just the point of, you know, if he doesn't get his way, he's gonna throw a fit. And the last thing you want is a little bratty little kid running things to the point of they'll throw a fit if they don't get their way. And he kind of reminds, you know what, who else he reminds? And there's another, you know, young prince character in the story. And that's Arya and Sansa's cousin. That little boy, the sickly little boy, on their mom's side, that is kind of bratty too. But he didn't get as bad as Joffrey does. But yeah, that little sick little bastard. But he's sick, you know. But luckily he won't get as bad as Joffrey, but who knows. But like Joffrey is such a little, he's just a little brat. And you just hate his guts. And it's hard to, I can't even find any sympathy for this kid. Except for the fact that he's born of incest. It's the only bit of sympathy I can feel for this kid, that he was born of incest. So you kind of feel, just like, yeah, you're damaged and psychotic because you were born from both your mom and your uncle. So that's the only sympathy I would feel, and if any sympathy for this kid. And I cheered when he died, when he gets poisoned at at his own wedding. And, you know, no one survives. Weddings do not work in Westeros. Weddings is totally fail. You know, someone's gonna die or something at a wedding. But, like, yes, I mean, and you know what's more terrifying, he's all charming and sweet, like Prince Charming when he meets Sansa first, and then when she realizes too late that he is just a little brat and a prick. And he can go die. He can go jump off a cliff. And he's so horrible. And you, like I said, there's like, it's hard to find any sympathy for the little prick. But the actor does a great job with the part. The actor seems like such a sweetie, but he does such a brilliant job playing this little sadistical little bastard. And they just hate him. You just want him to. I just want to strangle him. And I love when he gets slapped by Tyrion. That was so, like, when he gets told off by Tyrion, I love it. It was so nice. And, he reminds me of another character. Dany's brother. He's another one of those sadistic brats that I think I was happy. I took pleasure in his death. You know, I was waiting for that scene, actually. Because he was another one who thought he was entitled and acted like a brat. You know? Older brat, but still. And he deserved what was coming to him. Just like Joffrey. Both him and Joffrey deserve it. So, I mean, there might be hope for the other one. But, I don't know. But anyway, and then what was the other, the other thing was, he was gonna hurt Arya's friend, the new friend she made in King's Landing, and of course he ended up getting killed by the Hound anyway. But he deserved to get bitten. He deserved to get bitten by Arya's. And I know this is one of the reasons why people do not like Sansa. One of the many reasons why people didn't like Sansa is that she's horrible to her sister and chooses Joffrey over her. And it's just, that was kind of like, what the hell, bitch? What is your problem? Why would you barely know this punk? But at the same time, you can't blame her. She was naive and brainwashed to think that, Joffrey was her Prince Charming and everything. But yes, Joffrey, I did not bat an eyelash when he died. The only sad part about that is that Tyrion got blamed for it by his mom. And you kind of feel sorry, a tiny bit of sorry for Cersei. She's basically, when she loses her son, her pride and joy, there's nothing to be proud about that little bastard. How can you be proud of him? He's just so horrible. He's a horrible human being. But then again, this is Cersei we're talking about. And she's still a mom. So of course she's gonna be. Okay, so next is Eli Cardale from Vicious. And the sequel to that, Vengeful, just came out actually. But Eli he's another one of those villains that thinks he's doing the right thing. He sees himself as a good guy, even though he's not. Horribly. He was like... So, Vicious is basically about these two guys who find out, these college guys that are sort of friends, but they have a very complicated relationship. And I'm a little bit anal about this, and I always feel like correcting people if they don't get the exact storyline correctly when they're summarizing it. So it's like, and I feel kind of bad because it's not that big of a deal, but when I was correcting a booktuber who referred to Eli and Victor as friends, and I feel like they have a very much more complex relationship and they're not friends. So we both kind of laughed it off, but I think we did. I hope she did. I hope she wasn't annoyed. Or like she at least laughed. Also, she seems like a very sweet person, so she probably just like, okay, yeah, that's not. But anyway, they discover that you can become someone with extraordinary powers if you have a life or death experience. You have a near-death experience, and both guys, Eli and Victor, had those near-death experiences. And Eli gets the ability to heal people and heal himself, just heal himself, not heal others. I don't remember. I definitely need to reread it. But he has the ability to heal himself, so he sees himself as a god. He has a bit of a god complex. And he already had a huge ego anyway. When Victor gets his power and has his near-death experiences, which is cause others pain, it results in the murder, someone's death, and that really affects Eli. And Eli sees Victor as a bad guy. So we go forward 10 years later, and Victor is in jail, and Eli's out hunting these people with these abilities, because he begins to realize there are others like him out there. And he decides he's the only one that should exist, so he starts killing these people. And Victor decides, with a little help from these friends he meets along the way, he breaks out of prison and goes hunting for Eli. So there's no bad guys, there's no winners in this game. Which, by the way, it's a really good. I really like the stories that actual books, actual novels, not graphic novels, because graphic novels aren't cheap. They ain't cheap. I can't afford them unless I decide to just get a graphic novel over a book. And it's a habit. I've always bought books, so to get into a new habit of buying graphic novels is a little bit more challenging, which I know some people would find stupid, but I like the idea of taking a comic book type story and putting it in an actual physical book instead of a graphic novel. I think, because I like the stories, some of the comic stories, like superhero stories, or super villain stories. And I like that, because it's easier for me to buy a book. But anyway, but Eli he's one of those self-righteous villains. You are so terrified of what he's gonna do. And I don't know if I should have switched him, because Victor is also on the list, too. But this guy is like, he is so horrible, and he sees himself as right. He thinks he's the only right one, the only one that deserves the power. And and those people that think that they have godlike power and believe that, that makes them believe that they are in the right, that they are the only one who has a right to the stuff they have, or the knowledge or power, whatever they have. So the fact that he's killing people in the, just to make sure, because he thinks he's protecting people, that makes him so terrifying that he'll do whatever it takes to protect people and to prove that he is right and everyone else is wrong. And that's what makes him such a great, complex, and terrifying villain, is because he thinks he's the right one. And you can't reason with the bastard. You cannot reason with this guy. Because he's insane. He's unstable. He's nuts. It's like terrifying that he doesn't see himself as a bad guy. And those are the scariest villains. Of course, most villains, I think, are like that. They don't see themselves as a bad guy. And like, most of these people are on this list don't see themselves as villains. Maybe George Stark is like, I know I'm a villain kind of attitude. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, he's nuts. The only and there's my dog is sniffing. I don't know. I find it so cute when dogs sniff. Like, it just looks so cute when they sniff, because they can, like, I don't know. It's so a lot. When they sniff and when they sneeze. I don't know why, but there's just certain things that dogs do that I find so cute and so adorable. But anyway, getting off topic here. So yes, that guy is. Oh my! I hope this video is not too long. It might not matter. I might have to redo this video. Well, okay, I got 2 more to go. Okay, so the next one is a new, recently discovered villain, and that is the Prince of Hearts from Legendary. He is one of those charming, sadistic, good-looking villains that you are attracted to, but you hate at the same time. And he has so many abilities. He has the ability to stop your heart and kill you with just a fatal kiss. And it's so scary. And he basically manipulates our main character in Legendary and is like, you have to do this for me in a certain amount of time, or you're gonna die. I mean, the fact that he's gonna kill, and he's so sadistically charming and seductive. Like, I think the villains that are seductive and like they seduce you and they're just annoyingly charming and you hate them at the same time you want to have sex with them, those are terrifying villains, because you don't want them to manipulate you, brainwash you into joining their side, because they're evil. Your conscience knows that they are bad guys. They are horrible human beings. They are evil. They are killing innocent people. They are doing horrible things. But at the same time, you can't help but be drawn to them. And you feel horrible and disgusted with yourself for being drawn to them. And I think, of course, that's why I think a lot of, like, female fans, some of their favorite villains are good looking. That's why a lot of times they are cast as good looking people. Of course, they're never going to cast someone like that's completely ugly, because I feel like no one in Hollywood is truly ugly. I mean, but of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Like, what you may think is ugly is not necessarily what someone else will think is ugly. But yes, he wants to basically he wants what a lot of them want. He wants power, so he wants to take over and steal back his power from Legend. And so there's no good. I feel like there's really no true good guys for our two main characters, Scarlet and Donatella turn to. So yeah, he's just. Okay, so the last one, and like I said, I was gonna mention Victor Vale in this one. This is he's one of those guys. First of all, he caused people pain. I mean, that's pretty bad. That's pretty scary. And I almost wasn't going to put him on this list, because I feel like he's like Eli's more of the villain than Victor is. But Victor he does not see himself as he knows he's a bad guy. That was the other reason that I was debating him, because he admits he's a bad guy. And some of the best villains, my favorite villains, are the ones that don't see themselves as bad guys. But he will do horrible things with, just so he can get revenge on Eli. And he kind of uses some of his allies, the people he's working with, he's using them. So, like I said, this is a little risky to talk about Victor labeling him as a villain, but he is not a good guy. At least not completely. He's more of a good guy than Eli is, I think. But I still would say he's a villain. So I almost think I should switch Eli and Victor on this list. Like, Victor should be number 3 and Eli should be number 1. But I guess it depends. I mean, it's my list. I can do whatever I want. But, yeah, Victor is, like I said, he will do whatever he has to do to, like, get his revenge. And it's not about saving these people or protecting Sydney, although I think he's developing a bond with Sydney, the girl that he meets in the story, and the other guy, I don't remember his name. But yes, he is and he's kind of he's, in the beginning, you can tell he's kind of selfish and a brat, like Eli is. He doesn't care about a lot of people. And he's also, I think it would be a sociopath. The whole, I can't feel anything, I have no compassion. But he acts the way he thinks you're supposed to act, to show that you have the ability to feel things and to care and you have emotions. But he doesn't. He doesn't have emotions. He's kind of like if Sherlock Holmes went evil. I feel like Eli and Victor are like Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty in that way. Although, Sherlock Holmes is more of a good guy than Victor is. So, yeah, I gotta read Vengeful. I gotta buy Vengeful so I can read it. But I loved Vicious. And Victor is just, you could almost argue that he's kind of the good guy of the story, but there's really no good guys, except for Sydney. I think Sydney and that dude that's kind of the muscle for Victor, is kind of good. But I think Sydney is the most pure of the bunch of characters, at least in Vicious. I haven't read Vengeful yet. But, yeah, so like I said, I don't know, maybe I would switch Eli and Victor, but I guess it doesn't matter. So, that is my list of my favorite villains in books. Would love to know what your favorite villains are in books. That would be totally awesome. And feel free to share in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe and click the bell icon below. And I hope, as always, you're enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later.